What's happening, Who Dat Nation? Welcome into another edition of Saints Now by Chat Sports. As always, I'm your host, Trizzy Trace Girouard. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's video. For this show, we're going to give you 5 players who I think could shock the National Football League during the 2025 preseason. And for the 2025 preseason, the New Orleans Saints, they play just around the corner on Sunday, 3:05 p.m. Central Time. On August 10th, we will have the first look of the new era of Saints football. So I encourage you to subscribe to Saints Now by Chat Sports, turn on your notifications, and join our live watch parties that will have every single game through the preseason, regular season, and hopefully the postseason. You do not want to miss out on the awesome experience of a Saints Now watch party. I highly encourage you to tune in. Number 1 player that could potentially shock the National Football League. I have talked about him time and time again, and there's a big reason for that. Danny Stutsman has been absolutely electric for the New Orleans Saints. This is a player, for what it's worth, who's got like the neck collar thing going on. He's got the mustache because it's ready for war. I mean, I'm telling you right now, this is a player who's definitely going to be making plays in the preseason. He's been making plays all throughout training camp, during minicamp, during OTAs, and I think that's directly going to translate to the preseason game days. He is currently competing to be the third linebacker behind Demario Davis and Pete Werner. Nephi Sewell is in the mix for that LB3 as well. And he's a player at OU who was extremely productive, played with a very, very high motor, and that production has been very evident at the Saints summer programs thus far. And he's been one of the biggest rookie standouts at training camp. And I'll tell you what, he is in a really, really good position because he gets to learn from 2 of the best in the National Football League. 1, especially in Demario Davis, and number 2, a really talented player in Pete Werner, And a few weeks ago, before training camp started, we had the pleasure of interviewing Danny Stutsman, and I asked him about what it's like to work with the linebackers in New Orleans. There's some really good players around you to help you kind of learn a little bit early in the career. Demario Davis, Pete Werner come to mind. What's it like playing alongside those guys, and what's kind of been your early experience with those dudes?
For sure. I mean, you have to be a sponge for, all their knowledge. Obviously those guys, Demario and in specific has played a lot of ball. He's kind of seen it all. So anytime, he's, in meetings where he's able to share something, share some knowledge, you want to be writing it down, just be able to, take in all that information. Pete as well, I've, had a few more snaps with Pete, out in the field. And then just hearing their communication, they're able to take it to kind of the next level. And obviously, I'm still trying to adjust that playbook and all that, but to see what a high level looks like, it's great to learn from 2 great veterans right there.
Absolutely. And what are some of the things that you've been able to learn from Demario Davis just and Pete Werner early in the OTAs and minicamp process that maybe you didn't have in your arsenal when you were out at OU?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, obviously, film studies somewhere, you're always looking to improve. That's kind of where you have to get the edge at this next level. It can't always be physical, especially during OTAs where, it's a lot more mental side of it. And with the new defensive coordinator, there's a lot of veterans that were there, so it's good to learn from them. Demario, he watching how he studies the game, what goes into it. He kind of has a different approach in some aspects that's new. Obviously, high school and college, I took film to a really high extent, trying to get that edge. But he's had so many years, you get little details here and there, and you can fine tune your game. What he's reading from the quarterback's eyes, their formations, their motions, and just able to pick up on that and elevate your game faster.
Now, why could Danny Stutsman shock the NFL? Here's a few more reasons. Danny Stutsman talked about the importance of being a sponge around quality veterans, especially in a player Demario Davis. And that was before training camp started. Now, we've seen multiple days of practice, and he's done just that at a very, very high level. He talked about how important preparation is. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, can be the difference in getting the edge versus suffering a big play against you. Taking film seriously is another big key. And I think that it was really interesting to hear Danny Stutsman talk about how you can learn to elevate your game at a faster rate when you have players like Demario Davis and Pete Werner around. All in all, I think Danny Stutsman is due for a big year. During the regular season, it's going to be hard to not have Pete Werner and Demario Davis on the field, but boy, oh boy, this guy I think is the future. Shout out to Danny Stutsman for joining the program. Always have an open invite to come back on, brother. And Steve, if you're watching, hope you're doing well, buddy. Mason Tipton. He is the next player we're going to talk about here on the channel. Back-to-back seasons where he has been a training camp all-star. You have been able to see the chemistry being developed between Mason Tipton and Spencer Rattler dating back to last year, actually. Mason Tipton's most of the production he had was when Spencer Rattler was the passer for the New Orleans Saints. And that connection and that chemistry has only gotten bigger. It's only gotten deeper and stronger. And Mason Tipton and Spencer Rattler, they have been making plays together all summer long. Kellen Moore has praised the second-year wide receiver, undrafted free agent out of Yale, because he has been taking advantage of opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. And that's what you need to do if you want to make this roster. He showed a really nice willingness to block last year. He showed a lot of willingness to just do whatever you're asked and help this team win. He's competing to be a backup wide receiver in New Orleans, and obviously the depth chart for the Saints has a lot of players on there. Moochie Dixon, Chris Tyree, I think, do have a harder path to make the 53-man roster, but ultimately you're going to have to make some tough decisions with Bub Means. I think he's going to make the roster. But what about Kevin Austin Jr., Donovan Peoples-Jones? You also have Dante Pettis, Cedric Wilson Jr., excuse me, what do you do with this wide receiver group? Kellen Moore, like I said, praised this player. Here's what he had to say a while back. He's an excellent player. I love his work ethic. I love the detail that he plays with. He's done an excellent job out there. He certainly had a couple of opportunities, excuse me, and he took advantage of it. He's been really, really reliable. And being reliable is a very, very good thing if you want to make the Saints roster, especially as a lower-end player. I do believe he will make the roster. I could see him having a spot on the 53-man for the New Orleans Saints, and I do think that he isn't a player you should ask to see a ton from in the regular season, but be a reliable safety blanket whenever an injury pops up or whenever one of these starters needs to get a drink of water, you have a different look on offense. I think that this is a good thing for Mason Tipton. He's been good so far. Now, Mason Tipton, I think, will make the roster. Who won't? Get in the comments. Isaiah Foskey, Cam Akers, Kendre Miller. I think he makes it. But you know what I'm doing here. I want you to get in the comments. Share a player who you think will not be on the New Orleans Saints 53-man roster. I can tell you this guy will be. Quincy Riley. No question about it. This guy, he's been good. He's been really good. Had a very minor injury at OTAs and at rookie minicamp. Held him out for minicamp, but held him out in the early portion of the summer. But boy, oh boy, has he come on in a big way for the New Orleans Saints during training camp. Been making play after play after play. He's been a consistent playmaker for the New Orleans Saints. He's competing with Isaac Yiadom to be the cornerback 2 across from Kool-Aid McKinstry. Obviously, Isaac Yiadom, he does have familiarity with the New Orleans Saints. He has familiarity with Brandon Staley. He is a player who has experience, but Quincy Riley is really giving that guy a run for his money, in my opinion. Remember, the New Orleans Saints let Paulson Adebo walk in free agency. He signs with the Giants, and then they traded away Marshawn Lattimore last year at the deadline. If you ask me, the Saints made the right decision in both of those moves. Quincy Riley helps the Saints get younger, helps the Saints get cheaper. He has been extremely effective. He's a ball hawk through and through, and this is a player who I think over the course of his NFL career will have a major impact for New Orleans. The Saints haven't had a lot of ball hawks recently outside of a handful of players here and there, but in case you didn't know, over the course of his 55-game career, 54 total pass breakups. He had 15 interceptions, which was first in this draft class. He had 23 pass breakups since 2023, and according to Pro Football Focus, that is number 2 in the draft class. Quincy Riley is a player you should be buying stock in right now because he's aggressive, he's fast, he's a willing run defender, he is a solid player all around, and the fact that New Orleans was able to get him with the 131st pick in the 4th round, unbelievable value for a player like Quincy Riley. But another player, I'll give you an honorable mention guy. I said it was going to be 5. We're going to go 6 here. Jonas Sanker, he's been starting to really make some noise at training camp. Nick Underhill even saying he's starting to make a name for himself. You're starting to see him be noticeably popping off the field. Very productive player for Virginia last year. A really nice safety that is also a run defender. Very willing against the run, very aggressive, very fast-paced player. I like Jonas Sanker a lot. I like the fit in this defense, especially with Tyrann Mathieu no longer being in the mix. I think Jonas Sanker could be a player who gets a lot of rotation, and I think that he could make a lot of noise during the preseason because I'm not totally sure how much we'll get to see Justin Reed and Julian Blackmon together on the field. Who Dat Nation, we got a couple more names for you. But really quick, I need to tell you about these awesome polos. We got black and white stripes. We got white and black stripes. I don't care what your forte is. You can get it on sale. This shirt, it was a Nike polo, was $70. We got you taken care of. Say thanks, Trizzy. $47 with my link, chatsports.com/NoPolo. Stands for New Orleans Polo. But don't tell me I never hooked it up for you. I'm trying to give back to y'all. $70 polo for $47? Are you freaking kidding me? Yeah, sign me up for that. I'm ordering mine with the link in the comments and description of this video. You should too. Perfect for day drinking, perfect for a round of golf, perfect for a Saints watch party. Or if you're going to the Dome, you can also rock that, hit Bourbon Street after, hit Canal, go do some drinking, go get some food, and you'll be looking absolutely fresh. Kendre Miller is the next player to discuss. With Kendre, context here. When I say he could shock the NFL, we know that he is a player that has nice skills. He has a lot of juice in the tank. But he hasn't been on the field. And he hasn't been available. And he's been injured. And for the first time in his career as a professional, he is now 100% healthy. He even says, I feel normal now. This is the most healthy I've been since I've been in the NFL. Kellen Moore has given Kendre Miller a clean slate this season. After a really rocky start in New Orleans, there was clearly a fractured relationship with Kendre Miller and Dennis Allen, which begs the question, why the hell did you not just draft Tyjae Spears in the first place? That's a whole nother conversation. We're multiple years past that, but still, you didn't like him in the first place. Why'd you draft him? All in all, I will say the rushing attack will be vital this season. Kendre Miller should be a very, very big part of that. And I do think that he's a player that could get a lot of run for the New Orleans Saints in the rushing attack in the preseason, week 1 specifically, because of a couple reasons. One being we need to learn what he's capable of doing and if he has what it takes to be a contributor in this offense. The other, Devin Neal, 6th-round pick by the New Orleans Saints. He is dealing with a hamstring injury, and he is reported to miss a couple of weeks. Could miss week 1, week 2 of the preseason. Hopefully he's back in week 3. But this is a guy who, throughout his entire collegiate career, never missed any time due to injury. So that's uncharacteristic of Devin Neal to miss some time. Hopefully he can get back on the field very, very soon. Very, very productive player, but there are other guys in the mix as well. Cam Akers, as we mentioned, he's a really interesting player that the Saints brought in through free agency. I do like him as an option as like a running back 3, or if Kellen Moore decides to go with 4 running backs, which he has done once with the Chargers, maybe that is what they end up, that's a player they keep around. Velus Jones Jr. does offer some special teams versatility. He's also a very fast football player. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Louisiana legend. I think that he could bring some boom to the Saints running back attack. And then Marcus Yarns, he's a UDFA the Saints signed out of Delaware. He's been having a really impressive camp as well. Now, let's focus back in on Kendre Miller because I personally believe he is going to have a much better season than we've ever seen. I know we haven't seen a lot. So in terms of good or bad season, we're just going to set the level of, is it going to be better or worse than what we've seen? I'm going to say he's going to have a good season. So I'm typing mine yes. But what about you? Are you saying yes? Are you saying no? Get down in the comment section and share your thoughts. Last name to discuss here on today's video, and then we'll let you guys get back to your days. Chris Rumph II. He is a player who has been standing out big time alongside Chase Young, Carl Granderson in the pass rush department, especially in the edge rusher room. That is a department for the black and gold that needs to be much better this season. I do believe with the hire of Bo Davis for the defensive line coach, on top of the new scheme brought in by Brandon Staley, I think this pass rush will be better. Just straight up, that alone I think will improve this pass rush. But Chris Rumph specifically, I think, could shock the NFL because he does have some familiarity with Brandon Staley. He was actually a 4th-round pick in the first year Brandon Staley was the head coach for the Chargers. From 21 to 2023, he played with Brandon Staley, and he's competing to be the backup in New Orleans as a rotational edge rusher. You also have like Jonah Williams in the fold. You have other players as well. But, I mean, one name that really sticks out to me is the 40th overall pick from not this year, but a couple of years ago. Remember Isaiah Foskey, the leading or the all-time sack leader for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, back-to-back seasons with, I think it was like 11 sacks? Where the hell has he been? What's been going on with him? Cam Jordan giving him some praise. Cam Jordan's going to give a lot of love to his teammates. He's had a very quiet training camp. For what it's worth, he looks bigger. He looks like he's gained some weight, and he's got, like, in a good way, like muscle and stuff. But there was an expectation that things would click for him this year with the changes that have been made to the defense. It hasn't happened. So Chris Rumph could potentially surpass Isaiah Foskey on the depth chart as an edge rusher. But also, there's been a UDFA that's been really impressive too. Yashin Davis, he's been shining at training camp. Ross Jackson, friend of the program, he has been very, very pleased with what Yashin Davis has done thus far throughout training camp. So for Chris Rumph, I think that he's a player you should keep your eyes on. I think Yashin Davis is a player to keep your eyes on. And I think the edge rusher position in terms of the rotation as a whole is one to keep your eyes on, because one of those guys is going to need to stand out if they want to dethrone Isaiah Foskey and earn a spot on the roster. Isaiah Foskey has been working with some special team stuff too, so there is some value there in that regard. But just saying, you got a lot of opportunity this preseason if you're the New Orleans Saints and you're one of these players on a roster bubble, because Kellen Moore is making changes left and right. Now, Who Dat Nation, I gave you 5, 6, 10, maybe you could call it 7 different players that I think could shock the National Football League. And if you enjoyed today's content, I hope that you subscribe to Saints Now by Chat Sports and join our family of over 47,000 crazy Saints fans. Turn on your notifications. That way you never miss a video. Anytime we go live, anytime we post anything, you will be notified if you set the notifications to all. Who Dat Nation, I appreciate y'all for rocking and rolling with us. My name is Trizzy Trace Girouard. That's Loco Lopez. Y'all stay golden, and we'll see you next time.